To our channel. Today we are going to start cardiac output and venous return. So this is chapter 36 from our guide 10. This is our continuation of our CVS physiology. So first let us see the important terms. Let us understand the glossary terms and next continue to our topic. So first let us see what is cardiac index. Cardiac index is nothing but the cardiac output per unit body surface area. So for how much of surface area, how much cardiac output is produced, that gives us a cardiac index. And next let us see what is cardiac output. Cardiac output is nothing but the amount of blood which is ejected per ventricle per minute. Means how much of blood is coming from the ventricle, especially if we talk about left ventricle, how much of left ventricle pumps the blood into the aorta per ventricle, means per left ventricle per minute. That is called as cardiac output. So normally we know it's 5 liter per minute. So we know the normal cardiac output is 5 liter per minute. So difference between here cardiac index and here index means cardiac output produced per body surface area. Here cardiac output means the amount of blood ejected per ventricle per minute. So this keywords we need to remember. And next let us see what is mean systemic filling pressure. So the pressure at which, that is 7 milligrams of mercury, all flow in systemic circulation ceases. Means systemic circulation it applies to our whole body. So uh, imagine that all the blood supplying to all the organs is ceased, means stopped, and both arterial and venous pressure come to the equilibrium. Means now as everything is stopped, normally we know our venous side have low pressures when compared with arterial, but because of this now both are coming to the equilibrium. So this is called as mean systemic filling pressure. Mean systemic filling pressure means here in the name only you can see the systemic pressure is ceased, systemic pressure flow is circulation is stopped. Only now because of this the arterial and venous pressure are getting equilibrium. So at which pressure all this gets seized, that pressure is 7 milligrams of mercury. So at this is called as mean systemic filling pressure, 7 milligrams of mercury. And next let us see what is stroke volume. So stroke volume is the amount of blood ejected here also per ventricle but per contraction. So this is normally 70 milliliters. So difference between stroke volume and cardiac output you need to understand. Actually first we need to see cardiac output formula also. Cardiac output is equal to stroke volume into heart rate. Stroke volume, now you have understood each definition. What is cardiac output? Cardiac output means the amount of blood ejected per ventricle per minute. What is stroke volume? The amount of blood coming from a ventricle, that is also per ventricle per contraction, not minute. Here keyword is minute, but here per contraction. For one contraction how much blood is coming, that is stroke volume, and it is about like 70 milliliters. But what is cardiac output? 5 liters. And next let us see venous return. So venous return is nothing but the quantity of blood which is flowing into the right atrium per minute. So venous return means all the from our inferior vena cava, superior vena cava, all the venous blood which is present in our body comes to the first to the right atrium itself, because right atrium is connected superiorly with superior vena cava, inferiorly with inferior vena cava. So all the venous blood come to the right atrium, that is nothing but that to per minute. This is called as venous return. So these are the first keywords. After understanding this, now let us go into our topic. So venous return and cardiac output must equal each other except for few heartbeats at a time. So always remember venous output and cardiac, of course they should be equal, because the amount of blood which is coming by the venous return only from the right atrium, next it will go to right ventricle, from the right ventricle it will go to pulmonary circulation, from the pulmonary circulation by venous return again into our left atrium, from left atrium to again left ventricle, from left ventricle to again aorta. So we know this all this process. So finally what you can say is the amount of cardiac outputs means the ventricle which is ejecting, that is nothing but equal to the venous return, because how much amount of blood is coming, that much amount only again should be distributed throughout the body. But for few cases it may be wrong, like some even some physiological and also some pathological cases may be included. Let us see all those things. So when blood is temporarily stored or removed from heart and lungs, so you can see here venous return and cardiac output must equal each other except for few heartbeats at a time when the blood is temporarily stored in or removed from the heart. So only in these cases it may not be equal, like sometimes some of the blood is stored in some parts, then it may be not equal, and also sometimes some of the blood is removed either from heart or lungs. So in these cases only our cardiac output and venous return may be not equal, but almost in all cases they are equal. Now let us see what are the factors which affect the cardiac output. So the main factors, we have four factors which are affecting our cardiac output. The first one is the basic level of body metabolism. Because if the metabolism of the body increases, then cardiac output increases. Why? Because the muscle is actively contracting. So increase in ventricular contraction, so increase in cardiac output, you can understand this. And the second one is whether the person is exercising. Even this is somewhat related to metabolism. So if we're having higher metabolism, higher exercising means we have higher cardiac output. And next, coming to person age. If the person age is also increasing or decreasing, based on that also cardiac output is affected. If the person age is increasing, then the cardiac output may decrease. If the person age is like younger age, then he may have the higher cardiac output. And also depends on the size of the body. So because of size of the body also, it may increase or decrease. So these are all the four factors which are affecting our cardiac output. And next, you can see for the young healthy men, the resting cardiac output, that is in rest the cardiac output is average about like 5.6 liter per minute. For male, in the case of female, in resting cardiac output is 4.9 liters. So female have somewhat low cardiac output when compared with male in resting states, but average in all human beings, the average cardiac output is 5 liter per minute. So if the cardiac output is increasing with the proportion to the surface of the area of the body, that is nothing but saying our cardiac index. Just now we have saw that definition. So it is nothing but the cardiac output is proportional to the surface area of the body. Means if the surface area of body is increasing, means cardiac output will increase, because even the blood flow will increase there. So it's logical, you can easily understand. So human body surface area for a healthy human, for a healthy man of 70 kgs, the surface area of his body like would be like 1.7 meter square. That is, the cardiac index for adults is 3 liter per minute per square meter. So for 1 square meter we are having cardiac output of 3 liters. So total in healthy 70 kg man, you can expect 1.7 meter square, means of course nearly to 5 liters of the body surface. So cardiac index, if the cardiac index is increasing greater than 4 liter per minute of cardiac output at age 10, it means you can see in a age of 10, like in younger age, the cardiac output is higher, like 4 cardiac index is also higher because 4 liter per minute. But whereas coming to age, as age is increasing to 80 years like that, then cardiac output also decreases like about 2.4 liter per minute. So this we can easily understand by this graph. So here you can see this graph. Here in x-axis you can see we are having age, years, and in y-axis you can see we are having our cardiac index. So you can see here in the 10 years old, as I said, the cardiac output is like above 4, very healthy person. But as you see, as keep on age is increasing, you can see the curve is going lower, because you can see at the age of 80 the cardiac output is somewhere around like between 2 and 3, that is like about 2.4 liter per minute. So here you can see cardiac index is higher at age 10, 4 liters, whereas at age 80 years it is like 2.4 liters. So with the age, the cardiac index and cardiac output of course decreases. So decrease in cardiac index indicates the decrease in activity or decrease in metabolism or also decrease in muscle mass with age. So all these may be the conditions when the cardiac index may decrease. So we can nothing but say the cardiac index is directly proportional to our cardiac output, because it is nothing but measuring the how much of square meter our cardiac output is formed. So whenever there is low metabolism, low activity, in that case of people the cardiac output is low. And also even in aged people, because of age they have more muscle mass. So here in this case of people also we have low cardiac index. So next let us see what is Frank-Starling mechanism. So it's the most important and most known mechanism. So the venous return, actually it is mainly depending on venous return. So actually what normally Frank-Starling mechanism says is how much preload comes, that much only our ventricle can contract. Preload means what? How much of blood which is coming from the venous side, that much only will get pumped out. If there is low blood, then low ejection, that's what it says. So let us understand this. So first it depends on venous return. As venous return comes to the right atrium, then the preload increases. So increase in preload of course increase the stretch in the ventricles because more blood is coming. So this in turn increases the stroke volume. Of course it will also increase our cardiac output. Of course it will also increase our heart rate. Why heart rate is increasing? Because due to the stretch in atrium. You can understand even when the blood is coming from the atrium, if the venous return is high, even in the atrium there is lot of blood. So even atrial muscles get stressed and they also fire our SA node. You know our SA node is present in our atrium. So SA node fires, it gives more action potentials. You know already action potentials, that is electrical stimulations are converted into mechanical stimulations. So from electrical stimulation it gives rise to increase in higher contraction. So because of all this mechanism, you can understand even heart rate is increased like up to 10 to 15% when compared with normal because of this higher venous return. And also in the because of stretch in atrium, it also fires the brain bridge reflex. So what is this brain bridge? You can understand in the name itself, from brain it is bridging the reflex, means from brain the nervous signal are also coming to our heart. So this is a nervous reflex which is first going to the vasomotor center in our brain, and there from there it will come back by the sympathetic nervous system and vagus system. You know mainly our autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and parasympathetic are having a higher effect on our heart rate and also conduction, pumping, everything. So heart is mainly dependent on nervous system, hormonal system. So the nervous system mainly sympathetic, parasympathetic, so they also increase the heart rate. So we know all this, sympathetic mainly increase the heart rate and parasympathetic, it inhibits the heart rate. So now let us move on to next part, that is if venous return is too high, then the heart rate limits. So always we need to not expect that if we increase more venous return then we may get more cardiac output. It is absolutely false, because if the venous return is too high, it will also be a burden or pressure to the heart to pump in very high cases. So heart rate limits in that case. So if in normal unstressed conditions, means normal peaceful conditions, the peripheral factors also determine the venous return. The peripheral factors like total peripheral resistance, means if the resistance is more then also blood can't move forward, and if the resistance is low then the blood can move forward. So all this resistance, peripheral resistance factor, all this also mainly control our venous return in unstressed conditions. So you can see the total peripheral resistance is inversely proportional to cardiac output, of course, because if the resistance is high, you can understand the blood can't go against the resistance, so the cardiac output decreases. But if the resistance is low, then the cardiac can then blood can easily flow, so the cardiac output increases. So you can see our graph here 36.2. So here in this graph, if you see, if normal total peripheral resistance, then we are having normal cardiac output. So here you can see on x-axis we are having our total peripheral resistance, on y-axis we are having our cardiac output, that is mainly our atrial pressure, that is systemic circulation pressure. So you can see it is 100 here, 100 that is about our cardiac output is 100% normal, means it is in normal. Then even you can see this is the curve, this red curve is of total peripheral resistance, so even it will be normal. But if the total peripheral resistance increases, then the cardiac output decreases, you can see here. And if the total peripheral resistance decreases, then the cardiac output can increase. So this we know already. So once let us check out this graph. You can see this is the beriberi. By giving beriberi, what happens? Due to avisions, due to hyperthyroidism, due to anemia, and due to pulmonary diseases, Paget's disease, it is normal. So like this the graph is coming lower. This is about total peripheral resistance. So removal of both arms and legs, then also output is decreased. And yeah, this red one is showing our cardiac output, sorry, this black line is showing the total peripheral resistance. So you can see in beriberi, visions, hyperthyroid, all these conditions the cardiac output is slowly coming downward. But whereas when you see during total peripheral resistance is normal, then even cardiac output is normal. But whereas due to removal of arms and legs, here output is decreasing, due to hypothyroidism output is decreasing. So you can see because of different conditions how the cardiac output and total peripheral resistance are affected here. So we also have got a formula for cardiac output. By all this understanding of our concept, the cardiac output is nothing but the arterial pressure divided by the total peripheral resistance. So arterial pressure means you can also take it as like systemic pressure of blood divided by total peripheral resistance. So now let us see the factors which are affecting, that is we are having two type of factors which are affecting our heart, mainly our hyper effective heart and hypo effective heart. So let us see first the factors which are influencing this hyper effective heart. So here you can see the hyper effective heart. First, yeah, it is mainly having two factors. The first one is nervous stimulation, and the second one is hypertrophy. So nervous stimulation, it increases the heart pumping by sympathetic mainly, and parasympathetic, mainly vagus, which decreases the heart rate. So because of this stimulation by sympathetic nervous system, the heart rate may increase up to like from 70 to, it's a normal beat of heart, to 180 to 200 beats per minute, and even its contractility is increasing more, of course. Whereas in the case of hypertrophy, the muscle mass of ventricle is increased. So here also pumping is increased due to increased workload. So whenever there is higher workload, then only our ventricle will get hypertrophied, that is increase in mass of muscle. So normally in marathon people, like in exercising people, or the people who are playing in games, who are especially marathon running games, in those people, actually in those persons, there is 50 to 75% hypertrophy. Why it is there? Because of both nervous stimulation and also hypertrophy. So because of hypertrophy, already increase in pumping action because of hypertrophy, and also because of nervous system, mainly our sympathetic nervous system, it increases. So you can understand, if we summate both, if we add both together, you can understand that how much performance a marathon person can give, because it leads to very much higher increase in a cardiac output, like about 30 to 40 liter per minute. In normal person, we know it is like 5 liter per minute. You can compare how vast difference we have when we are adding up both nervous and hypertrophy stimulation. So it leads to 30-40 liter per minute. It is very huge, that is 2.5 times greater than the normal person. So because of this, a normal person is you know is not able to function or run more when compared with the marathon people, because of continuous exercise. And now let us move on to the next part, that is the factors of hypoeffective heart. So in the name itself, you can see here hypo means lower pumping. So before you have seen hyper effective means those factors which promote the pumping, increase the action there. So we know the nervous system hypertrophy increase the action, but here let us see what are the factors which are going to decrease the heart rate or decrease the heart function. So you can see the decrease in pumping, that is increase in arterial pressure against it. So you can understand, when the arterial pressure is so much high, that now the blood, that is nothing but like afterload, if the afterload is high, then the stroke volume decreases and also cardiac output decreases. This is very important point. Whenever the preload is increased, then our stroke volume, cardiac output also increase. But whenever the afterload means the amount of pressure, that amount of blood which is present in our aorta or systemic circulation, when the pressure is high, you can understand now the ventricle can't pump it so effectively. So whenever afterload is high, stroke volume will decrease. So example like in hypertension, and also like inhibition of nervous system, when nervous system is inhibited, or any pathology, abnormality, rhythms in heart or heart rate, and also some coronary blocks like heart attack. So all these conditions, you can understand, they decrease the efficiency of our heart. And also valvular heart disease, congenital heart disease, myocarditis, that is inflammation of cardiac muscle, myocardium, and also hypoxia, whenever there is low oxygen. So all these conditions mainly lead to decrease in efficiency of a heart. And also nervous system, it maintains the arterial pressure when peripheral blood vessels are dilated. So always remember, whenever any kind of blood vessel it gets dilated, its blood flow increases but the blood pressure decreases. So you can say, and venous return increase and also cardiac output increase. So what they are saying, nervous system mainly maintains the arterial pressure when the peripheral blood vessels are dilated. When the blood vessels are dilated, blood pressure is low, so it is maintained by arterial pressure. And also venous return will increase because of dilation, blood flow will increase, right? So venous return will increase and also cardiac output will increase. So we have done some experiments in dogs to understand what is going on. So in dog we given a drug like dinitrophenol. So before seeing this, we need to also see one more graph so that we can cover it. So you can see this graph here. On x-axis we have our right atrial pressure, on y-axis we are having our cardiac output. So you can see here hypoeffective factors and hypereffective factors, and this is the normal stage. So you can see in hypoeffective factors, as atrial pressure is increasing, the hypoeffectiveness is also means decreasing is means the factors which are decreasing the heart rate are increasing, because high arterial pressure means, you can understand, higher pressure, so the ventricles can't beat against it. So you can see this is the hypoeffective factors. Whereas when coming to hypereffective factors, you can see they're like increasing lot. You can see from here, now the graph suddenly went to like 25. 25 height means the factors are which are hyper effective means they are increasing the heart rate, so they increase up to like 25. But the factors which are hyper effective which can only increase the heart rate like about between 10 to 15, that's it. It is a normal value. Hypo means below, means you can see like 10, between 5 0 to 10, only 0 to 10 is a hyper effective. Normal is between 10 to 15 and higher is between 25, you can see here. So these are the factors how they are affecting. And yeah, now let us continue on dog experiment. So in dog you see we gave the drug dinitrophenol. So because of this there is intense dilation of peripheral blood vessel. Now you can understand, if it is intense dilation, venous return will increase. If venous return will increase, cardiac output will increase, that too four folds. Because of dilation, blood flow will increase, so more venous return, more cardiac output. So next, by blocking the autonomic nervous system and the by giving dinitrophenol, so now the situation may change, because already we know that because of dilating the blood vessels the blood pressure falls so much, so it is maintained by arterial pressure. But now means mainly by our autonomic nervous system. But now if this dinitrophenol is given and also autonomic nervous system is stopped, now of course arterial pressure will go so much low and the cardiac output will rise. Of course it will rise because of more venous return, but not too much when compared with our normal dinitrophenol, because you can see here cardiac output rise but only up to 1.6 fold instead of 4 fold. Actually here you can see it is instead increased by 4 fold, but here only 1.6 fold. So by this you can understand that even autonomic nervous system along with this all these conditions plays a major role. So all the factors which are affecting the cardiac output are very much important. If either one is missing, you can understand the situation how it turns to be. So autonomic nervous system maintenance is essential to increase the cardiac output when peripheral tissue dilates to increase the venous return. So nervous stimulation increase the arterial pressure and in exercise. Yeah, before seeing this, once let us see the graph of this dog experiment to understand this more clearly. So here you can see the graph of dog experiment. So here the red line is with nervous control, means along with the nervous system we have given. Here without nervous system, you can see this dotted line is without nervous system. So you can see here the cardiac output by giving the dinitrophenol, it has increased to fourfold, because here also the nervous system is taking part. But here you can see the dotted line which is rapidly decreasing because there is no nervous system involved. So if no nervous system, then it will decrease. Of course cardiac output may somewhat be okay, but not as increase like fourfold, only it will increase like 1.6 fold like that. So that is the difference between with the nervous control and without the nervous control. So you can see without nervous control always the graph is like somewhat only going downward like that. Here it is about cardiac output, here it is about arterial pressure. So when arterial pressure is having a relation with this nervous system control, we know here you can see with the nervous control it's like straight 100%, but without the nervous control it is decreasing rapidly. But here also by giving dinitrophenol and with nervous control it has increased rapidly, but without nervous control you can see it is only increasing to some fold. So this is about our dog experiment done to understand our cardiac output relation with our nervous system control. So let us see how our nervous system mainly increases the arterial pressure in exercise. Why it will increase? Because you know in exercise there is lot of oxygen demand, there is lot of contraction going on. So to compensate this, if the arterial pressure is increased, let's understand this. So actually muscle arterioles relax during exercise, and they also have higher demand of oxygen and also nutrients because during heavy exercise, and total peripheral resistance is decreased. Then only you can understand the blood can flow more and uh, what cardiac output can increase. But because of this phenomena what is happening is arterial pressure is also going down. So to compensate this we have our nervous system to compensate the arterial pressure, so it will immediately activate the autonomic nervous system. So this autonomic nervous system in turn leads to venous constriction. So you can understand whenever the veins get constricted, there increases the blood pressure and the blood flow decreases but the blood pressure increases. So here also this leads to increase in heart rate. Because of constriction you can understand heart rate is also increased, and this leads to increase in contractility, in turn leading to increase in arterial pressure. So this is how arterial pressure is compensated whenever there is any disturbance, especially in the case of exercise. So this is how nervous system act to increase the arterial pressure in a exercising person. So next, let us see the what are the factors which are affecting the venous return from systemic circulation.